We
Good
are.
evening, everyone. Welcome to another installment of community engagement. I'm here with Pastor, who I lovingly call Pastor Reverend Daniel. I'm your host, Tom Wilson. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Let us know how it went. Put some comments in the chat. Let us know how your week went last week. It's so funny because I always ask how your week is going, but today's Monday. It's the start of the week, right? How are you feeling?
Awesome. Good evening, friends. Good evening, our listening audience. Well, good evening again. Good evening. Tonight is another night, the night of talk show again here on community health and community conversation. And tonight we'll be talking about another pressing issue that affect the community, that affect us and our daily life. And particularly tonight, we will be looking forward to having a conversation regarding threats to public health and safety. And particularly when we're talking about that, we want to, pinpoint it out that uh, regarding, all residents in Southwest Philadelphia. And so we want to be talking about the threats to public health safety. What are those things that pose this threat to our community? Whichever block you are on in Southwest Philadelphia tonight, we just want to have a conversation. So, as we start the conversation, we ask you to please put in the chat group in the comment section. What are some of those threats that you feel the public need to be aware that Southwest Philadelphia need to be aware. So let's talk about that. So yes, Miss Wilson, nice. Thank you for the intro and um, tell me more how your weekend went, and of course, what can our audience expect tonight in this conversation?
Well, my weekend was amazing. I mean, I didn't get much done. We're at Christmas cleaning right now, which is amazing. If you're from the Caribbean or you immigrated here, like in the Caribbean, Christmas is, well, I think most of the world, Christmas is super important, but in the Caribbean, we definitely take it to another level. Like I remember being young and having to clean every dish, every plate, every ornament. Like it's what the equivalent to spring cleaning is here. So we do that around Christmas time. So we started that, and that's usually like a 2-week period for us. What about you guys? Where you're from, is Christmas such a big deal, or preparing for Christmas?
Christmas is a real big deal. In fact, from December 1st, you begin to see the
December
fever.
1st?
Yeah, you got to see what is happening.
Oh, really? We start doing it, like for us, it's the end of, so we have, in Trinidad, we have Diwali, which is a big festival, the Festival of Lights, and coming out of Diwali, because we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in the Caribbean.
Can studio let Keba in? She's waiting. Studio, can you let Keba in? She's in the waiting room, please.
Right?
Studio, if you're hearing me, you can let Keba in. All right, good. Well, Christmas, as I was saying, is a big deal, and people moving from, business people and all of that, the city can be packed. But but talking about that brings us to where we are today. Some of the threats to public health and safety for Philadelphians. Um, when we talk about threats, what comes to mind?
Well, there's different things. So there's man-made threats and Mother Nature threats, right? So public safety, anything, all natural disasters are considered threats. And then we have the man-made threats like crime and not crime and littering. Like I'm trying to find a word, like not caring for your community, like trash disorganization, a disregard for that organization. Hell, even bad driving is a threat on us. So that's what I'm saying. There's some man-made ones, and then there's some environmental threats. I was going to say man-made environmental threats. So there's man-made ones and then there's Mother Nature at her best, right? So it depends on what we're talking about. I know we have a couple on the list tonight. Hi, Miss Kebby, how are you feeling? How was your weekend?
How are you? My weekend was great.
I am doing extremely well. I was just telling Reverend Pastor Daniel that we are preparing for the Christmas, not the holiday season, I should say. And that's a big deal with us. It's more like spring cleaning in America.
Yeah. Thanksgiving right here, and then we have Christmas. Then before you know it, we're in 2025 already.
Oh, don't say it, don't say it. Don't say it. You know, when the year begins, it's dragging on, and then at the end of the year, you want to know where the year went.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had a great weekend. So, as Reverend Daniel was saying, our discussion for today is understanding public health and safety and talking about emergencies in our community, right?
So today, basically, the listening audience, like we mentioned earlier, again, we welcome you. We are talking about threats to public health and safety for Philadelphians, particularly, and especially all of us that live in the Southwest Philadelphia. But the question is, what is this threat to public health and safety that we want to talk about? That's what we want to talk about. And I probably want to just maybe start it before I turn the floor over to the gentle ladies tonight to continue on the flow. When we're really talking about public health threat or threats to public health and safety, basically we're talking about those risks, things that are risks or risks that can harm a person, an individual, any risks that harm an individual or a community, including environment. That's a threat. It could be even plant or the flowers and all of that. It could be a threat. Like now talk about climate change. It could be a threat on that. Okay. So public health threats that we're referring to anything that becomes that is harmful to an individual or is harmful to a community or is harmful to an environment. This kind of trend they range from infection diseases. It could be diseases, and it could be environmental hazards, or it could even be to violence, or even ranging to poor safety practices, right? Poor safety practices, all those things can pose a threat to our society, to our person, to our environment. It poses a threat on that. So let me ask you folks, was there kind of maybe what else come to your mind when you hear the word, oh, this is a threat to the public, especially to our health and safety. What else can you share with our audience tonight?
Well, I think one of the biggest thing is the pandemic we just went through, right? So COVID was a big threat to public safety, like big threat. I think that was the biggest we've seen in close to 50 years.
The what?
I said COVID was one of the biggest, coming to mind, COVID was one of the biggest threat we've seen in close to 100 years, health-wise, to public safety. I think that comes to mind. We just came out of a pandemic.
So like that was infectious disease, right? Infectious disease. Kevin, what comes to mind when what can you share with our audience when we talk about the public health threat?
Like you said, that it's like anything that kind of interferes with your safety, your health, or put you at risk of being either ill or getting to the point where you might lose your life. So, like you said, infectious disease. Another thing could be environmental pollution or pollutants. That's one thing. Two that will serve as as a threat to public health.
So what are some of the sources that we see these threats coming from, especially when it has to do somewhere in Philadelphia in general, right? What are some of those where are some of those areas or places we think those threats can come from? What are the sources for that?
Sometimes from in our communities, the places we work, from companies, probably like they can be anywhere. They can be all around. Like threats, public health threats can be all around,
That's
especially
right, various sources, correct? Various sources. And part of that, like you mentioned, it could be workplace and so, but generally speaking, um, we talk about this poor quality air, for example, it become a threat, right? I think was that the past last year summer that the air was polluted, or was it 2022, something like that? The air was polluted in Philadelphia, and I think something happened. Whether it's Southwest Jersey or so, and they advise that the air is polluted, people should use masks. I don't know if some of you remember that. So
Mhm.
it becomes a trend, like that kind of stuff, poor air quality, right?
Even
And
the water can be polluted too.
another threat is drugs overdose.
Mm.
Right, drug overdose. When people have overdoses that they're not supposed to take, it becomes a public health threat. All right, because of the reaction. But one of the most prominent threat that we find around, especially in the Southwest Philadelphia, is the gun violence issue. To the point that people don't feel secure, when they're moving around, right? Especially, you know, you don't see a lot of people like really being that kind, especially during the night or so. Everybody want to hold tight because you're afraid of gun violence and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And inadequate of healthcare access, that's another threat that we face when people not receiving the required healthcare access that they do, right? It poses a public health threat to them. And as we look forward on that, another safety that we can it poses on that becomes a threat is the public safety risks in terms of in neighborhoods. That's why most part of Philadelphia, for example, in Southwest Philly, there are some communities you see the houses, they are back to back, but this block is empty and this block is populated. This block can become uh, valuable when it has to do with property value, because it doesn't have much risk. But in this block, the other property on this block they decrease because it got a lot of safety threat. So
Mm-hmm.
these are the things that people need to watch out and so forth and know as well, right? Like even if you're buying house, you want to know, okay, the block I'm about to buy a home, is what about the safety condition in that block? How is everyone viewing on that block? Can my kids come out? Let's say you have children. Can they come out? Maybe let's say somebody, can they come out to play? Or can they catch cold air out? What is a risk factor of all these things we talk about, like gun violence, healthcare access, poor quality of air, what is a lifestyle in that black? What is the pattern that is happening there? So people need to be aware of those. I
Even
just
just
want
to add, even the use of tobacco too. That is
to.
one, because like the nicotine, I was reading, it said the nicotine that is contained within tobacco, which is highly addictive, it puts you on major risks of cardiovascular and respiratory diseases, and over 20 types of different diseases you can contact just from the tobacco use. So like we all know that even the secondhand smoking that we talk about, we that get the secondhand smoke, you also get infected or affected, even probably more than the person who's smoking it directly. So that is another public health threat right there. And in as much as that is a personal choice for most people who consume tobacco, but it's also a threat to public health. Especially like some people, they don't even care like the environment in which they are. They just let it out.
So look at the impact on this threat. What comes to mind? How concerning is the impact on the threat? How concerning is that?
It's concerning. Any threat to a person or to a community as a whole should be very concerning, because if it's a threat, that's something that has the potential of damaging to a higher degree, if not completely damaging, of not just one person but a group of people. And you don't want to have a group of people or a whole community that's damaged or that's facing health issues, that is in a state that is not like a normal state for a human to be in or living in. Like people will be in communities like you were talking about, buying homes on certain blocks, and the next block depending on the property value. It's how you treat yourself and how you kind of like clean your or pay attention to your surroundings too. So if and sometimes like Miss Storm was saying, some of these threats are created by us. So if you're creating these threats to your community, or as a group of people continuously doing things that becomes threat to your community, you're gonna have a whole bunch of people not progressing, probably just being sick or being stagnant in a certain position and not upgrading their lifestyles and all of those things, in which becomes not a good position to be in.
Mm. Absolutely. And particularly if we're going to consider that we look at like, some of those direct impact and then the indirect. So we want to put them in that two category, the direct and the indirect. So like some of those things. So some of those we got to put them into two for direct and indirect, and those threats they come in that. So for example, if we look at where we can put maybe violence leading to physical harm, that's a direct threat, right? It's a direct threat. And when we're talking about maybe drug abuse resulting into long-term health issues, that's an indirect, we could probably put it so, for individuals and families. All right. So it's important to understand, because the threats bring impact, and some of this impact, they are direct impact, some of them they are indirect impact. So we need to understand the severity of these threats that that public health it poses to public health and safety in general. But if we look at some of the strategies to target public health and safety threats, what comes to mind about those strategies that we can use to help maybe curtail, the threats to the public or things leading to public health threat?
I think we've seen some of it in action within the last well, they've always addressed it, right? I think within the last year, let's talk about the pandemic. They put a lot of systems in place to help, minimize the effects of the threat, right? So they put us on lockdown, which was extreme. They put the world on lockdown. They administer a vaccine quite quickly so that they could fight the effects of it, so it didn't do as much damage as it probably would have had we not had that vaccine earlier. They issue money because a lot of people wasn't working. So financially, the government helped out quite a few people with unemployment, extra food on food stamps, just stimulus checks. So that's three things. They did a lot more, but that was just three things right there. They locked us down so that we're not spreading it. They created a vaccine so that we could combat so the effects of it wasn't as severe as it could be. They also help with money because, an economy, a society, a town, a city cannot function without the economics being flowing because it shuts down. And then we have stuff like Ms. Kebe mentioned, drugs and alcohol. So they, if it was in the 80s or in the 70s, they had a big so-called war on drugs in America to minimize the effects that drugs was having on our community at large. Because there was, we call it what, the crack era in New York City or in the upper parts of the states. They cracked down on that significantly to, you know, minimize the threat of that. So whether it's a health threat, a drug threat, financial threat, we rely on our governments to help minimize the damage that it could cause if they do nothing. We as individuals in our community has to contribute to that as well. But those are some of the things that I've noticed that they used to combat threats or minimize the effects of it.
So let's talk about collaborative effort for safer communities, because that is our goal, to make sure that we can have a safer community, that you can feel confident about your block you live in your community, the space your houses, you know, you can feel confident. What sort of collaborative efforts that we can apply or that we need to see to enable our communities to be safer?
I'm sorry, repeat the question again.
So I was asking what sort of collaborative efforts that we can expect maybe from that joint effort to get our communities safer.
What do you mean, us joining with the government or with each other?
Well, it could be any, whether it's government, whether it's within the community resources and all of that. How can we strengthen the community?
Oh, well, there's one example that comes to mind. In recent years, we've had to get guns off the street. So you could anonymously go into a police station and take a gun in, no questions asked. You wouldn't be asked who it belonged to, anything. They wouldn't persecute you. It doesn't matter. They had a big "Let's Get the Guns Off the Street of Philadelphia" drive, I think 2 years ago, and anybody could take in a gun so they could get a lot of streets into the police station. I think they got like over 2,000-3,000 guns off the street within that one short period of time. And that's a collaborative effort because they had to put it in place and the community had to participate.
That's right. You got it right. And I think in addition to what you said, you know, engaging local organizations is one other thing, right? Like Rising Up for Change. We are in the Southwest Philadelphia in Delaware County to provide support to the community, that kind of collaboration. So we partner with other entities like we are doing with Vybe, right? To be able to share this to the public, you know, like, you know, we're providing this information, you know, free of charge to the public.
I hate to interrupt, but we do have one going on right now. I live in Delaware County in Chester, so I don't know if it's going on in Philadelphia, so you guys can enlighten me. They are sending around packets that you could dispose of prescription drugs, because we have an epidemic going on right now where people are using each other's drugs or selling drugs, and they want to get them off the street. Some of them are expired drugs. So they're sending around packets so that you could put your drugs in and you could, you know, deliver it or turn it in. I like the guns, no questions asked, just to be able to get those prescription medication off the streets. So that's going on right now, whether it's hypertension medicine, any prescription medication that you have, for example, that you're not using, like you got strong painkillers that you were using for a period of time, you're not using it anymore. It may be expired or not expired. They have they are giving houses packets you could put it in to deliver it so that they could destroy it. So that's going on right now in Delaware County. I don't know about Philadelphia.
That's right. If you find the link, you can share it, and then we can share with our audience.
Next week I'll look for it. I have a bag here because they delivered it to our houses. So I'll look on the package and I'll bring it next week with me.
That would be awesome. So that way we can
Yeah.
help our public. Maybe someone will be working in that country. They might be living in Philadelphia, but they might be working there and they want to take advantage of that to say, let me just take this over
Yes.
there to dispose. So that kind of collaboration is what we're looking forward to. And the point about this kind of collaborative effort for safer community is to really help us when we initiate that. We kind of try to see how we can build the trust with the healthcare system, because one of the things that really we struggle, and I think everyone in the world struggle, particularly in America, was the issue of trusting the healthcare system during the COVID, right? Many people were afraid. The vaccine was this, it was that. So, but when we build that collaborative effort where people can trust the healthcare system, I believe that would be a kind of very good step taken. And particularly the critical steps to reduce the public health threats that we're talking about, and then those risks that are involved into it. I
So,
just
I
wanted to
mean,
add that piece there.
there's a lot of different ways we could take part in when they're offering free CPR classes. That's a good way to volunteer. You know, lectures, people get together, garbage cleanup. We take that for granted, but I live in a city where there's a ton of garbage everywhere, and there's usually a couple city cleanups crews. You could volunteer for that. That tremendously helps the environment, and it may not be like you, we may not think of it as a threat like gun violence, but it is a threat in our community when the trash is piling up or everything is gearing up. Where everything is gearing up. So can you imagine if we all participate in that? Because having dirty cities impact our health.
like following environmental health regulations, health and safety regulations, and like probably as a community also like coming up with, because if the community as a whole is finding it difficult to follow these regulations, like you can come up with your own that you feel would be more applicable to the community or to community dwellers. And another thing, because infectious disease is also a part of public health, is also a threat of public health safety. So vaccinations, like encouraging people to get vaccinated for whatever infectious disease that has vaccination available to them, like the flu, the COVID-19, and all of those things. So like if we have an outbreak of these diseases and people are vaccinated, they stand a better chance of not having the whole community getting down with the sicknesses. And of course, like Ms. Tom said earlier, controlling the use of drugs and tobacco and all of those things. And also, like people should learn to eat healthy, to eating safe food and taking care of their personal health.
Taking care of their personal. I love that part of it. So I know maybe we will have discussed this earlier on, but what are some examples of, maybe for those who are joining us late or middle of this segment, what are some examples we can share with of public health and safety threats that Southwest Philadelphians face daily, right? What are some of those public health and safety threats that Southwest Philadelphians face daily? For those who joining us late.
Definitely infectious disease will be one major one, especially with the high population in Philadelphia. It's so easy to spread. Everybody's like in everybody's business. That is one major one.
Sorry.
Natural disaster too. Sorry. Gun violence, that's another one. Opioid addiction or tobacco uses.
Sean could be another one, right? We talk about that.
Yes.
It's the
Yeah.
question, sorry.
Well, we were trying to kind of maybe have our listening audience who are just tuning in. And the question was for us to discuss to kind of share some of the examples of public health and safety health threats, safety threats that Southwest Philadelphians face daily.
We also haven't spoken yet about natural disasters, Mother Nature herself. Something like you said, poor air quality. That's man-made too. Poor air quality is man-made too. The ozone.
Let's
It's so
look at
weird. I
some
don't
of
think
the.
we all understand the impact we have on the environment, and we really, really need to understand it. It's sad that during the pandemic, when we were shut down for 1 month, it said that the Vienna, the river, ran clean for the first time in over 150 years. The ozone layer was regenerating itself. So that's the impact that we have on the environment, because if hundreds of years of damage could be repaired like that in months, that means Mother Nature have the ability to heal herself, regenerate quite quickly. But we are doing so much damage that she can't keep up with it. So can you imagine the level of damage that we're doing and how hard she has to work to just keep us at the level we're at? We have to be extremely mindful when we're doing stuff. And it's weird because being environmentally mindful sometimes costs us extra money, right? And we weigh that against the quality of life we could probably live having things, but we really have to be mindful. We were just talking about, I was just talking to a friend about, the energy sources that we use and how alternative energy has been around for a very long time, but because the big companies can't make the money, or the cost of it per individual to get it started is so high, we don't do it, but we are costing our children so much years in the long run. So we have to think about those things when we talk about prices. Like, even like we talked the other day, we had is it just me? But we had contaminated water the other day. It was in the news. Do you remember, about 5 months ago? Yeah, there was contaminated water. It turns out one of the plants that we use for to help source energy leaked into the water. That's how bad it is. And we have to be mindful about that. So when, it say, oh, it costs too much to do solar and stuff like that, we have to really weigh that cost against our future.
Right, which brings us to environmental pollution being a major part of public health and safety threat. Like you said, the air pollution, and you were talking about what happened during the COVID, climate change, which I think should be talked about more. And these things that cause health issues for people, all the respiratory diseases, heart issues, and all of those things, cancer.
Right. Imagine if we didn't have such poor air quality, how it would free up the hospital just not to have to deal with patients who's been affected by lung disease and different things because of the environment we live in. Just that aspect alone.
Yep.
So we really do need to play our parts. We really need to figure out how we're, affecting, there's energy efficient products. Like, instead of buying the cheapest air conditioner you could buy, maybe buy one that's truly energy efficient and one that's truly better for the environment, how it's produced. Small decisions like that,
Now
because we talk about energy efficient when it comes.
Oh, I was talking about us maybe shifting gear. Now we'll talk about the public health threats. Let's talk about safety a little bit.
Okay.
And the practical public safety tips that we can help our people again this evening, right? What is the first maybe practical public health safety? Let's say practical public safety that we can share with our listening audience tonight. Like, for example, the home. What sort of public health, not public health, but public safety that one need to be aware, like in terms of How can they keep their home secure?
Well, we've been talking about that for weeks. I think I wanted to mention, because I haven't mentioned before, there's something called carbon dioxide detectors, and we never mention it because it's not to the foreground of our brain. Having carbon dioxide detectors in our homes are important
You know,
to know that level, and we don't have them.
One of the things that I discovered during when we came to America newly was that, oh, no stealing here. You see, even the doors, the way I don't know what I can read, but the way the doors, right? Like the way the door, you just turn something compared to what we used to do back in Africa, you will have the lock, you have one up, one down, one center, and then you have iron cross all over the place. Like, to the point like here, literally, sometimes people forget to even close their doors, right? But to ensure that to avoid this kind of safety issues, please, it's important that people lock doors and their windows. Don't keep them, you know, because aside from theft, but maybe some other flying objects, insects, and so forth, insects, can article. So it's important to do that. So, and also use outdoor lightnings, right? Like, you know, like they got this light that flashes when it sees object or human, it detects probably human object.
Motion detector.
Motion detectors. That's what I'm talking about. Motion detectors, right? To detect intruders. And I don't know how many people are convenient with installing camera system uh, within their facilities. I don't know to which extent, but I think in the days we live now, it's important. Even if you can't install, but at least it's important you do that. And some of those may have a little cost attached to it, but what would you prefer? So what do you say about that in terms of the public's practical public safety tips that we can give our folks?
I think it's important to protect your home. Um, hell, if you don't have, if your home is protected and you don't need to use up the police or the ambulance system, that helps our community tremendously, right? Resources that could be used for accidents or emergencies that way. Also, we need to learn skills like CPR, how to help yourself. That's a great community tip because you never know when it's needed in the day, when you're outside in the community and you need to know some health procedure, like again, learning how to tend to burn, CPR, somebody choking, because somebody choking, knowing how to do that is life and death, because you can't know. So learn certain health procedures. Procedures are the procedures that everyday citizens could do. I'm not talking about performing heart surgery here, but stuff that we could do to help each other is important too for our community.
Something?
Yeah, like we said before, make sure your smoke detectors are working. Because if they are working, you could find fire. You could out a fire before it becomes a problem. So where the fire department needs to come to your house and burn your neighbor's house too. That's a good public.
Yeah, and also it's important to note that in our neighborhoods, particularly that are with high crime rates, right? Those neighborhoods with high crime rates, it's important that we look at the sort of uh neighborhood watch. Like if you looking after one another, that's kind of public safety, right? If it's like the way I think, yeah, we said that before. I think Miss Tom said it before in one of the shows to say, if you see something, you say something. I think it's a general statement that is becoming popular around. You see something, say something. Yeah, so that way everyone is safe, and not waiting until something happens before you say, oh, I suspected that. You want to say something when you see the smoke coming, raise an
One of the
alarm. I
more, I
think.
think, sorry, go ahead. I was thinking of something that I've been meaning to say for weeks, and
Hmm.
it's unpopular. We have to raise our children with respect for other people and other people's things. Because high heavy crime environment is usually doesn't happen because people from outside of your neighborhood is coming in and do stuff in your neighborhood. Most of the times it's the people who's in that neighborhood committing the crimes in the neighborhood that they live in, most of the times. So we need to have that conversation about, raising our children to respect other people and respect other people's things. Because that would go a long way. I can't imagine myself going and rob somebody or do something like that because I don't think I was raised in that environment. And I do know drastic things happen in people's lives that drive them that way. But most of these people is coming from generations of dysfunction. And we have to, say that like we have to raise our kids to respect people and their things.
That's right. So keeping a neighborhood, yeah, being vigilant about the neighborhood safety is important. It's everybody's responsibility, by the way. That's everybody's responsibility. All right,
Yeah, I've
yeah,
been
but
meaning to say that for weeks, but I know nobody wants to hear that they didn't raise their children, right? But the truth is, these kids come from our neighborhoods and they come from us. Like they're not, people from other planets. And we have to take responsibility for them. And it does start at home.
sure, I agree with you. Now, let's talk about practical hygiene, right? That which is part of the threats, uh, public health, and safety threats it poses. So hygiene in general. What sort of hygiene people need to follow?
First and foremost, washing your hands. It's very simple, very effective.
Yes, knowing how to clean your environment or continuously cleaning, keeping your environment clean, knowing how, when and where to dispose of trash or unwanted materials, like staying healthy, drinking a lot of water, staying hydrated, um staying away from food or beverages that are not healthy for you or good for your health, the sugar and beverages, consumption of things that are not healthy for you, like we talk about drugs and all of those other things, exercising, getting enough rest, reducing screen time, which is one thing that should rather that you were talking about the children that we're raising will turn out to be adults who commit these crimes or will turn out the way they are that are not helpful for society. So screen time, reducing screen time. Even as an adult, if you see that you having more screen time than you should, you can put yourself, check yourself.
Discipline yourself, right?
Yes.
Hmm. But you said it right. I mean, you said it right. Washing hands frequently, because if you don't do so and you kind of contact a contaminated object or come in contact with that, you may spread a disease across.
Listen,
I don't
I
know
think
if
it's the
any of you
most
watch the
effective thing
news.
and it's the simplest thing we've ever come up with as a people. You know, keeping yourself and your hands clean, learning how to sneeze properly.
Mm. Mm.
So, so uh, washing hand is something that you don't want to take for granted. But most importantly, eating during, when you're eating during or after, right? You need to make sure you can wash your hand. Now, that before and after, sometimes we are good at before, right, for certain food, but certain food It's vice versa. Certain food we are good at washing hand after eating. Certain food we're good at washing hand before eating. And then when we finish, we sometimes forget to wash hand with certain food.
Sometimes it just
Yeah.
But okay, let's be honest, as adults, as children, you know you need 20 seconds to get your hands clean. You have to sing the whole song. As adults, we do not spend that 20 seconds. We wash real quick and we leave. Right? The children know that they have to sing the song, and the song is 20 seconds long, they're good. But as adults, we just wash really quick and leave. And we have to be mindful of that.
we don't do the
Have
2
you
minutes.
been hungry and you stop by to McDonald's
Seconds not
or
gonna kill us.
you stop by to McDonald's or maybe Chick-fil-A or whatever it is, and then you grab the food and without you grab the food and you start putting your hand right in there to
Like, how much times have you been to how much times do you go? And you're so right. Like, you never ever see people in the fast food restaurants going in to wash their hands before they eat. During the pandemic, though, everybody had their hand sanitizer.
What? It's when we chop, or we at the point where we stuck, like we stuck in this tight space. There is not where we have to obey and follow the rules and everything, and we're seeing how it's affecting people negatively. That's when we follow everything to the T. Because that time there was no one person who did not have hand sanitizer.
Listen, it's harsh to say, but let one person get really sick from something. All of a sudden, everybody's hand washers.
Yes, people here will be white for hand washing. Like you tell something, people were washing, people were using the spray, people were using the sanitizer, the one you have here. People had wipes, people was doing everything. But now, especially now, even though COVID is around, but it's not like before. Even when you say, "Oh, there was a case of COVID," people like, okay. I cannot believe how quickly we have forgotten what COVID did. Like people
that's
have
right.
just moved on.
And nowadays somebody goes to buffet, right? And you hardly see people going to wash their hands. Despite the fact that they can be in that long queue, right? And then they give you a table. You never see someone say, "Oh, I gotta go wash my hands." Someone will say, "I've been standing for long, and let me just go grab my food." Right?
But
So
it's
these
not,
are things.
listen, the truth is it's not set up so you could do that. So if you are there with someone, you could ask someone to wash your food real quick and then you go wash your hands. But if you're eating alone, you're not going to put your food down on the table, then go to the bathroom, wash your hands and come back and meet it. So I think part of it is the system isn't set up for that type of cleanliness. I think maybe we really need to put in the fast food restaurants, put sanitizers on all the tables, just like you would put salt, sugar, pepper. Maybe we need to write a petition. Just like you would put salt, pepper, ketchup on the tables itself, maybe we need a hand sanitizer pump there, because it's definitely not set up for you to purchase your food, then wash your hand and then eat.
No, but you have the option to like wash your hands before you get your food. All they do is show you where you're gonna be seated, and then it's up to you to get your food whenever you want to. So
not in restaurants, but not like in fast food. Like they don't do that in
oh no,
fast food, do they?
not fast food.
Well, I mostly go to fast food. No, but I'm saying like it's not set up that way for everyday lunch, right? For you to just go in, order your food, then wash your hands, and then get your food to your table. So I think we need a system like that, and we need to be conscious and really work with our hand sanitizers and stuff, because it works almost as well as washing your hand. We need to be conscious about having that. And we also need to be conscious about, like maybe they need to put, again, a sanitizer bottle on the table when they're putting ketchup, salt, and pepper.
Yeah. So that's it. And another thing I would love to add in terms of practicing hygiene is to keep your living space clean, right? Living space, wherever, whether it's office, whether it's your living room, whether it's your bed, whether it's your room, keep it clean and reduce the risks of getting sick, because the cleaner the place becomes, the safer it is for you to remain healthy. And of course, also it becomes better from bacteria, including mold and or even the pets, right? Or even all those kind of things. And
We
so
definitely want to, teach our kids and learn ourselves how to sneeze in our elbows instead of our hands.
yeah. And so one of the things we want us to be aware before the end of this show today is to be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of your surrounding. That literally is kind of coming to us that we should stay um on the alert. We should stay alert, especially when you are out in the public. Don't forget about yourself. We're talking about public safety, especially in areas that that are known for crimes. Be watchful. Don't forget about your surrounding. Don't just go and you totally forget, and everything. You want to avoid distractions, especially, I think Kevin talked about that, form disciplining ourselves. So sometimes we go to public spaces and then we just on our phone, on our TikTok, on our Facebook, be watchful on those. I mean, everybody's adult also, but it's important to highlight it when you're in the public space, and one of the things, people go to public meetings instead of being in the meeting fully committed to it, they on their phone. And when you try to say, oh, I'm bored, I want to get myself, I'm bored.
I am pretty guilty of it. I wear my big headphones in almost every like I wear my headphones on the bus, on the train, we were at the doctor's office, I'm wearing my big headphones. So I am certainly guilty of not paying attention to my surroundings so much.
That's true. So you should trust your instinct, right? If a situation doesn't feel right for you, remove yourself from it, right? Something telling you that, I'm not comfortable here. You don't want to wait. Oh, my instinct was telling me. So be aware, be aware about your surrounding. That's important. Be aware.
Yeah, trust yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And talking
Definitely
about
trust
that,
yourself. We really need to learn that.
yeah. How can we identify common unsafe practices? Unsafe practices.
Identifying it, like if you go to the doctor's office and their floors are dirty.
Yeah, for example, poor nutrition, right? Is an unsafe practice, right? When we have a diet high in processed food, sugar, unhealthy fats, they all lead to long-term health problems. Some of these diseases that we face is the food we eat.
Mm-hmm.
And some unknowingly, with the food making us sick, we don't know it, and we still eating that food.
That's so true.
But, so it's important that we understand, if you eat something today and tomorrow you fall sick, don't just think that it's a normal stuff. So think about what you did yesterday. Do a stock. What did you do yesterday? What are the places you went to? What did you touch? What did you eat? What did you drink? So that you can evaluate that and say, maybe what, let's stop it. Let me change it. I think I always share with you people when I didn't know that it was how they call it. What's the tablet name? Ibuprofen. Right? I didn't know it, and then I get a headache. I would take it, and then my face starts sweating. I say, "What is happening?" Then I start scratching and all of that. Right? But since I discovered that was, now I'm allergic to that. Now when I feel something strange in my system, I begin to check, what did I do yesterday? What did I eat yesterday? What did I drink yesterday? The same thing. Now I don't drink soda at all, right? Soda. I realized also that when I drink soda, the same thing, soda and all of that, then I begin to at some point scratch myself and all of that. Not only allergic, but I see that it increases sugar in your system and so forth. So if it is not water, no, no. So let's identify those common unsafe practices. So poor nutrition, identify the food you're eating, understand that, and also don't neglect your mental health balancing, right? If you ignore mental health, it can lead, of course, to chronic stress. It can lead to anxiety, depression. You talk about even substance abuse. So your mental health needs to be fully balanced. All right. And that's why it's important, very important, crucial for you to seek help when you really need it. If you need help, seek help. Don't be silent about it. And of course, practice stress relieving activities like exercising, taking proper medication, checking on your loved ones. They are all important things. And maybe lastly from my end, I will talk about those common unsafe practices as we look at the time. Is unsafe driving, right? How many of us are guilty of unsafe driving here? Yay. You good, Mr. You
I
muted.
don't drive, so there's nothing unsafe about my driving. When I get on the road, people have to be worried about me. But I don't right now, no. Yep.
Yes,
When I get on the road, people would have to worry. I'm not even fronting about that. I'm scared to drive.
distracted driving, not wearing seatbelts, all those things are unsafe driving. So it's a public safety concern, my people. So always make sure you follow traffic law, which is terrible for many of us. So now when they say yellow, it's time we'll begin to accelerate.
I'll do my best. I will do my best on the road. I will.
All right, folks. I'll turn it over to you guys.
No, I think it's time for us to go, so we gotta wrap up. I'm getting a text message saying they haven't seen my son on the air. I don't know who is. You need to text in the chat on the show. I'm sorry, I'm telling someone who's texting me that they need to text in the chat on the show.
Okay. What was it they were texting about?
Oh my! They saw my son's hand, so she's saying, I haven't seen your son in because he used to be on air with me with the morning show almost every morning when he was first born. Now they haven't seen him for a while, but they've been hearing him in the background.
Okay.
He's a big kid now, so thank you so much. I don't know if on air is the time to show him, but can you say hi? He's a big boy now, a big boy.
Steady. They met yesterday.
Yeah, so they've known him since he was 2 weeks old. So, yeah. So today's show was informative. Public safety is important. We also talked about, we didn't just talk about the biological health side of public safety. We talked about the environmental impact. We spoke about crime. We talked about the man-made impact on our communities and the world at large. So this was a great conversation, guys. We thank you for joining us. Please, if you have any comments, any requests, anything you think we should be speaking about that we are not already doing it, please leave a comment in the chat. We welcome the participation. This is community engagement. We need the community to engage.
Thank you. Yeah.
Ms. Gabe, any final words?
Well, you said it all. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Storm. Thank you, Pastor Daniel. Thank you, Alan Vybe. Thank you, PDPH. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. And we hope that we see you again next week.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure having you wherever you've been watching us in your living room, in your dining set, wherever in your room, in your car, in your couch, wherever. It's been a pleasant moment for us having this conversation. So stay tuned. Do not ignore the public health advisory. Do not uh you know practice those unsafe behavior. Please, let's work together to live healthy to keep our community safe. It's been a pleasure. We come from you to you every night, every Mondays, from Rising Up for Change in collaboration and partnership with Public Health, Philadelphia Department of Public Health, PDPH, and our wonderful partner here also helping to add this information on the Island Caribbean station. We want to thank all of your listeners. Until then, we've been your good friends. We see you next week.
Bye, guys.
What's this?
Welcome to Table Talk with Nikki G the Voice, where we bring to you highlights of entrepreneurs, leaders, organizers, and much more.
Cross the finish line. I'll be coming back for you.
A broad spectrum of professionals, including chefs, artists, designers, musicians, and much more. Our show is a new brand of talk shows where we educate, bring transparency, and last but not least, fun. Table Talk. Get ready for our seasons, a roller coaster of emotions, all wrapped into one. Caribbean style. We'll cover our Caribbean roots,